Okay, if you are a business owner, a high achieving woman, or someone who is just in a season of their life right now where you are expanding and stepping into this next version of you, but like the 10x version of you, then you need to listen to this episode because we're talking all about how to become an energetic match for all of your desires, for the money that you were trying to attract. So we're really going heavy on the money side of things and how to allow more money to come in. Because if you are a high achieving woman, if you are an entrepreneur, or you were just trying to create the life of your dreams, then you know that you desire more money. Okay. Like, let's just be open and say it. By the way, my cat is scratching at my door, so I'm sorry if you can hear him in the background. Um, you know that you deserve more money and that you want more money, and it's okay to admit it. So maybe you haven't really admitted it to yourself that you want a lot of freaking money. I'm here to tell you that it's okay. It's safe to admit it. It does not make you greedy, it does not make you a bad person. And we're going to talk about how you actually can attract more money. And I'll just be the first to say, I struggled with money mindset, money issues for a really long time. And it took me a while to really overcome those money mindsets. But since I have done deep inner work, deep inner healing, I have been able to more than triple my business income this year so far. And that was me tracking quarter one. So I haven't even tracked anything beyond quarter one, and I've already tripled my business income from last year total. Okay. On top of that, my business income, because I still work a 9 to 5 at this time, my business income is more than my 9 to 5 job. Okay. So I'm saying this from someone who has done the work. I've done the healing, and I've really become so intentional when it comes to like becoming an energetic match to my desired outcomes, to the money that I am trying to allow into my life. So, not saying this from just like, this is what I've learned so far. This is like the work I have been doing the last 6 to 12 months that have allowed me to attract and really step into my 10x self and allow all of this money to come into my life. First, I want to share, if you don't know who I am, or maybe you've been watching some of my episodes, thank you for coming back. But if you don't know who I am, I'm Savannah, and I am the founder of Love Your Body Now, which is a brand that ultimately reminds women of their inherent worth and helps women to further deepen their relationship with themselves so that they can step into their 10x self. I kind of just like said that out of I didn't even like, that's not like my pitch or anything for my business. It just came out of me. So maybe that's our slogan, or that's like our statement for who we are. But anyways, that is what we do, or that is what we stand for in our mission. But we have multiple different offers. So we started out as a clothing brand. So I have a clothing line that is Love Your Body Now, but we also host in-person events, workshops, retreats, and we do deep mentorship with women. So that is what our offers currently are within our business, within my business, our whatever. Um, so if you like what I share today, or if you watch some of my other videos and you want to dive deeper into this work and get more involved with Love Your Body Now, I will make sure to include links in the description of how you can stay in the loop or join our different offers, check out our website, all of those good stuff. So anyways, let's get into today. If you see me looking down, it's just because I have some notes here, which I actually feel like I could do so many episodes about this. I was trying to like narrow it down Because I do have a lot of women that I'm connected with in the entrepreneur space, friends and other business owners who follow me on social media. And I feel like so many of us were like at the same level as far as where we are at in our business, what we are trying to build. Like, I have so many women in my life that we started at the same level. And I wanted to create a video where, okay, I feel like I've really figured out how to embody and like be the energetic match to making more income, to where I'm not doing more. I'm not hustling, okay? Like, that's the big difference, because I've had multiple businesses before. I've been in seasons of hustle and not really have a lot of money to show for it. And I am just in this, I am this new version of myself where I don't have to hustle. I don't have to do more to allow and receive more money and more blessings in my life. That is not my belief anymore. And I have been so intentional with my energy, my beliefs, my thoughts, my actions, um, everything, my state of being. I have been so intentional to create this new frequency where I am stepping into this 10x version of myself. And I want more women to unlock this, because when more women who have good hearts and who have incredible missions and just are high achieving, like, they are going to change the world. And more women like that need more money in their hands, because when women like that have more money and just more resources available to them, we change the world. We are unstoppable and we need more of that. So that is why I am creating this video. So I wrote down some things that I feel like are really good starting points. Again, I could go so much more in depth about what I do on a daily basis, and maybe I will get more into that, or offer, like, create something where if you resonate with this video and you want more, um maybe I'll create something like that in the future. So, first of all, many of you may have done some of this already, but I am very like, when I like made the decision that, okay, like, we are fixing our money mindset and we are stepping up our game when it comes to attracting more money, and I'm not going to be hustling more. I got very clear on my visions and desires. I actually hosted an in-person vision board workshop this year. I create my own vision boards every single year, and I have like a whole process that I actually take people through and do this whole facilitation. But anyways, so I did that at the beginning of this year, but it started before this year, where I just got very, very clear on my vision, my desires, and what, like, basically listing all of the things that money could give me, as far as like my freedom, yes, material things, but also things that I can do for my family, I can buy for my husband, like literally anything I could think about. When I would think about, if I had unlimited resources, how would I use them? What would I buy? What would I do with it? And I just like went to town, making pages upon pages upon pages on what I would like to do with that. And so it wasn't just about, oh yeah, I'd buy my dream car, I'd buy my dream home, I would do this. Like, no, it was like I got so specific and lost in the little details of what it would be like to have unlimited resources available to me at any time. And I wrote down things that I felt like this would enhance my life. This would make my life better. This would fill my cup. And it wasn't about like, will I actually ever achieve this? Because it wasn't just like, oh, in the next year, this is what I want. It's like my entire lifetime. These are things that I feel like would enhance my life, would make my life better. and would fulfill me in some way. So that is where like you can just write so many things, and it's not just about, again, the material things, but it's like, oh, like I would, like one of the things I wrote was like I would pay off my brother's student loan debt, or I would something simple, like I would buy the coffee behind the person behind me every single time I go to like the coffee shop. So it's like little things like that that I knew would feel good for me, would enhance my life in some way. I wrote down, and it wasn't making it about, will I actually achieve this thing? Will this thing actually happen? It's just about allowing, like, writing these things down physically and allowing myself to get clear on kind of like who I am, what I want, what would make me feel good. Because when you bring it to life like that, I'm sure if I go back to my notebook, which I have before, I've achieved like so many of the things already, which not all of them because I wrote so many, but I made it a goal. Like I made it um like a non-negotiable to write at least 100 things. Like and it was like at least 100. It's like, or keep going as you think of more things, and always having that list available to you, so that you can add more to it as you grow, as you learn more about yourself. So, writing all of that and really understanding what money gives me, because ultimately, like, money is, it's not about the money, right? It's about what you get from having the unlimited resources, the unlimited amount of money. So essentially it's an energy. And being able to like write down these things and kind of understand what that would give for me, it allowed me to start to kind of like dream and vision how it would feel to have those things, and um, how it would enhance my life. So, again, it's not really about the money, it's about having a clear vision of what my life would be if I had unlimited resources. So then this shifts my mindset as well, because when we do this, sometimes we think that money is the only way for us to have these things that we write down, for us to have our desires and have our dream life. But what ultimately this allowed me to do was I told God, like, you know what's on my heart, you know my desires, you know what I want, and how I would show up by, like, if I had all of these things. So basically, what I said to God was, I am open to receiving all of the blessings in the easiest way that He can give them to me. Because here's the things that we write down, money may not always be the easiest way that it can get delivered to us. Sometimes it's you meet someone and you have a relationship, or and then they are the channel of how that thing that you wrote down comes to you or comes to fruition, or you maybe like win something, like you win a giveaway. Like God is unlimited, okay? And for us to say that the only way we can receive our desires in our dream life is through money, you are limiting God. You are basically saying, like, this is the only way I am open to receiving it. So you have to actually make a conscious decision and be like, no, I'm open to receiving it in any way, shape, or form. And what this does is it forces you, if you are aware of it, it forces you to have to be okay with life flowing how it flows, because you don't know how God is trying to deliver your desires to you. This is why I I used to get like impatient. I used to get upset at the little things that wouldn't go my way. I used to like get triggered by little things like in traffic and stupid shit like that. And it's like you get to a point where you trust God so much that He's delivering everything you are asking for, because He is, that the minor inconveniences or the major inconveniences that happen, I'm like, thank you. Thank you, God. I know what you were doing. I know what you are doing. You are delivering more of my desires and my dream life. And I may not know how it's going to happen, why it happens this way, but like I know that you are making it happen in a way that is easiest to get to me. So thank you. I can't see, beyond what my eyes can see, but I trust you. So that's why it does not make sense. Like when I see people get so frustrated about things that don't go the way that they thought they would, I'm just like, you're literally blocking the thing God is trying to give you right now. Because everything works out for us. Everything. And that's just like so part of who I am in my belief system now, that for me and my stupid ego to be like, oh, I know better. It's like, no. Like you are trying to act like you know more than God at that point. And it's like, that's a waste of time. That's a waste of your energy. And you are going to be blocking the things that you wrote down and said you desired. And you said you were open to receiving in any way, shape, or form. Therefore, you can't get upset when things don't go as planned, or when things do go as planned, or when things get better than as planned. You know what I'm saying? Like, God knows best. You don't know shit. And you have to lean into that energy and that state of, oh, I trust you. I surrender, I know you know what's best. Like I asked, and this is me patiently waiting and receiving. So, and it takes time. Okay. I'm not saying I was a master of this overnight. It took practice and reps and constantly over and over again. It's the same as like the going to the gym over and over again. You have to practice this mental state constantly because you're wired and programmed in a certain way, and then you go to try to change all of that, and you just can't do it overnight. So, going beyond that, here's like actual tactical things that I would do that I still do. I visualize and meditate very deeply. And what this looks like is I will get in a very like deep meditative state and visualize like the things that I've asked God for or that are on my heart. And you can do this like all the time, as many times as you want, with as many desires as you want. But I will do this especially with things coming up, like specific things that I'm asking for, or even things down the road. I will get into a very deep meditative state, and I will visualize as if that is my life right now. And what this allows you to do is not only when you are in a deep meditative state, you are changing your brain waves so that you are actually tapping more into your subconscious, which is what runs your entire life. Then it's more than just working from a conscious state, which is like the least, I guess, productive way of actually manifesting. Um, you are basically tapping into your subconscious because of the you change your brain waves. And I will visualize and I will allow my body to actually get in a state where it feels what it's like to have those things now. And I'm going to I'm going to go one way with this, and then I'm going to go another way with this, because there's two different things I want to talk about with this. So, when I am in this embodied state and actually not just visually seeing these things, right? Because that's very conscious, but like feeling it in my body as if I already have it. And I get so in tune with how that feels. And I allow myself to feel gratitude. I allow myself to thank God for it as if it's already mine, because it is. There is a version of myself that already has it. And ultimately, what I'm doing is I am giving thanks for it ahead of time. And what this does is that is what brings your frequency and your embodied state to a level that matches the thing that you're asking for. So it's very different from just writing down your desires and being like, this is what I want. And like getting clear on all of that, that's great. You need to know where you're going. You need to know the direction that you're going and the desires that you want. But there is a whole deeper level to this of working with the subconscious and working with the body to actually become an energetic match for the things that you want. And I teach so much about subconscious reprogramming, working with the nervous system, and our frequency, like the frequency that we put off in our natural state. I go more in depth with this in my program, where it's like we are actually reprogramming. So just know that there are so many layers to this. So then, if you are working to do these things that I'm teaching you in this video, if there's unresolved trauma, if there are unresolved subconscious limiting beliefs that you carry, and healing that you need to process in your body, and you are living from a state of survival within your nervous system, you can only do this to the capacity that you have done the actual inner work. So, me teaching all of this, like, if you haven't done all of those things and you haven't actually gotten your body out of survival mode, which again, I talk about in other videos, your capacity to be able to do this work is going to be limited. Okay. So, if you know you have more inner work to do and you're on that journey, like, you definitely need to check out my other videos. You definitely need to check out my potentially doing my program, because I teach you how to actually work through those things, get yourself out of survival mode, and how to reprogram your subconscious beliefs and do it in a way where you are like building this, you are reprogramming your entire system, and it continues to build off of itself. And I understand why for so long I was very stuck when it came to manifesting money, manifesting my dream life, because I was trying to do it without actually doing the inner work, doing the healing, working with my body to release things that were stuck in my body. I was trying to like be like, "Oh yeah, I know, I'm aware of all these things. I know all these things," but I was not in an embodied state to actually be able to like drop deep into a meditative state and be able to build off of that and reprogram things. It was I was trying to like skip that part, and I talk a lot about that in my videos, where it's like you have to do work to unlock levels of consciousness within you. If you're not actually doing that work, you won't have the capacity to manifest your dream life like to its full um capacity, because you can't hold it. You don't have the container space within yourself and within your internal state. You won't be able to hold it. You will sabotage it. And that's why sabotage plays a role in our life so often, because our body, our belief system does not have hasn't you haven't done the work, first of all, and you are holding on to traumas, you are holding on to beliefs and things in your body that you just won't be able to hold the desires that you were asking for. And that's why we sabotage them so often, is because we don't have the capacity to do that. So going back to, and I felt like I needed to say that because it's a part of the equation. We can't skip that part. So, anyways, getting into a deep meditative state, visualizing, getting my body into that state, like feeling it in my nervous system of what it would feel like to have those things, practicing gratitude and actually like feeling into that. And then you have to release it, basically. And what I mean by this is you have to release your need to have those things. And that was a mistake I made in the beginning. Was I would do this work and I would be like, I know it's coming, I know it's coming, and then like a couple days would go by, a couple weeks would go by, a couple months would go by, and I'm like, it hasn't showed up. And then I would like be like, what am I doing wrong? Like, this isn't working, blah blah blah. And what would happen is basically I would become so attached to the outcome of the thing that I desired so deeply that if it didn't show up in the time frame that I thought it would kind of send me down a spiral. And ultimately, what that would do is put me in a state of lack and scarcity, which it has its own frequency, and that's what would continue to go out. So, this is why you cannot look at your physical world, anything that is happening in your physical, and be attached to any of it. You can't, because our physical world, everything in our physical life is a result of a past version of ourself. So it doesn't make sense to like get upset when something in our physical world isn't aligned with this new version of ourself that we have identified. It doesn't make sense to get upset with it because it's a past version of you. And if we know that our entire life is created on the past version of us, if you get attached to something in the physical, you're basically getting attached to your past self. And that's how we so many people stay stuck, because they are trying to change their life from the past. It does not work. So no matter how much you envision and pretend and like go into these deep states where you act as if you already have these things, you cannot become attached to actually having these things. The whole goal of visualizing, embodying it, and having gratitude for it and getting in that embodied state is exactly that. It's to get you in that embodied state, and that's it. And you need to be able to hold that embodied state all day throughout your entire day in order to attract more of what you're trying to attract in your life. So, visualizing, like all of that, none of it has to do with what you're actually like the actual outcomes that are coming, right? It doesn't have anything to do with making sure you attract like your desires look perfectly how you envision them, and it has everything to do with your embodied state and being able to hold that regardless of what's going on in your physical world. I hope this is making sense, but like an example that I can give you is, as I was like working deep in this, and I mean, I'm talking like this has been very focused on money for me in the last 6 to 12 months. But we had a situation come up where it was like an unexpected financial situation, negative, like where we owed a bunch of money all at once. And this was the perfect opportunity for me to completely practice the embodied state that I had been working on. Because here's the thing, my embodied state of my future self with unlimited resources, unlimited everything, unlimited money, she's not going to be stressing about this financial situation that came up out of nowhere. She would not worry about it because she's unlimited. She has everything she needs to handle it. And I know it can feel really, really challenging, but that is how you do not allow the physical things that are coming up to affect your embodied state. Because, again, going back to the beginning, God is handling everything. You have to be willing to surrender your entire trust into Him that He is delivering. He is making things work out for you. If you let fear seep in through the little cracks as you are like trying to fill these cracks throughout your journey, if fear seeps in, you have got to be able to catch it and bring yourself back to the embodied state of the 10x version of you. Because if you allow fear to creep in and then like your thought kind of feeds off it, and then your nervous system is like starting to like feed into that and like feel what that fear feels like, it's going to like send these mixed frequency signals into the universe. And you have to treat your energy like it is sacred. It is sacred if you are trying to manifest and create the life of your dreams and have everything attract to you easily and as fast as possible. You have to be able to catch that fear that comes in. And that's what happened for me is initially like the fear kind of like was like, oh my God. Another example for me is I had a business credit card that um I opened last year, I think in like April or May, and I had an entire year of no interest. And around October time, I got the nudge from my higher self to work with a specific mentor that cost way more than I could afford. And it was one of those situations where it did not make sense for me to work with her on paper. Financially, it did not make sense, but everything in my gut was telling me to work with her. And so I ended up putting it on my credit card, not knowing how I would pay it off, knowing that me and my husband were in a situation where we were about to move across country. Like we wanted to move from Texas back home to Nebraska. We didn't know, there was a lot of unknowns going on in my life. And so it felt very shaky, but I trusted my gut and I was like, okay, like we're doing this. And of course, I got myself in a very um, I was very intentional about my embodied state, my nervous system, everything of how I was feeling when I paid the invoice for that, because I knew if there was any negative fear, anxiety, worry that was tied to that release of that amount of money, then it was not like I was not going to allow myself to be taken care of. I had to fully surrender and I had to fully trust that my higher self and God, they got me. So I did that. And um, my credit card amount ended up going up even more back in like, I think it was like January. It got to a point where it was like really high. And that was when I was starting to feel kind of nervous because I was like, I have to be able to pay off this credit card by, what was it? Well, technically I had till June. I thought originally I only had till like April or May or even March, I think. And so I was really panicky. And then I confirmed that I had until June. So I was like, okay, I had to address the feeling that was going on inside my body because it was something where I was like not trying to allow the fear to come up, but it got to a point where it was like I was resisting it. So it was like whatever resists persists. And that's kind of what will tell you, okay, this keeps coming up even when I like don't allow it to take control over my thoughts and beliefs and feelings, but it does keep coming up. Therefore, I do need to actually address it because there's something there. There's something going on internally that I need to work through. So I actually journaled about it and just like got really clear on like, okay, if I don't pay this credit card off by the time interest starts on it, like I had to like go down that rabbit hole of like what could happen. Um, and what ultimately happened for me is like, okay, but I know that there's a version of me that's unlimited in resources. There's a version of me that's going to have a lot of wealth in the future. So really, this credit card, it doesn't matter. Even if I get to a point where interest does start adding to it, it doesn't matter because there is a future version of myself that can handle it and take care of it. Now, I'm not saying that that was like, okay, this is the best case scenario. No, it was like, okay, like this is the worst case scenario for me, but I did not feel comfortable like thinking about, will I allow this credit card to start adding interest? So I was like trying to like brainstorm how I was going to pay off this credit card without like dipping into other funds that are needed for other things in our life. And I was brainstorming and I was like, okay, like I guess not best case scenario, but like least to worst case scenario, this is where I will pull the money from to pay off the credit card and it will just be done with. And at least that'll be off my plate and I will not be stressing about it. And me going through that whole process, I was able to take back control of my state, my internal state, where I was fearing over that. And I was like, I allowed myself to just fully surrender. And what ended up happening is I had my first in person event in March, the end of March. I launched a 6-month mentorship and retreat for women and made double of what I owed on the credit card. And since then, I have been able to pay off my credit card in full. I don't even remember how I got what point I was trying to make through telling this story. Um, but yeah, I don't even remember the point, but I hope me sharing that story actually gives you the point that I originally started with of like why are these oh okay, I remember. Me sharing like why you can't allow physical situations to affect your embodied state and your internal state because again, these are past versions of you. Like, you have to work from the future state. You have to become the future you, like what that embodied state would be. And that's how you collapse time. That's how you solve problems of your past self without like trying harder, without having to like hustle more. You just like, you work from that embodied state of like, okay, well, my future self is unlimited. She has money, okay? She's got money, plenty of it, than more than she knows what to do with. So how would she react in this situation? She wouldn't bat an eye. So that's what happened. And it's not like I just avoid the problems. Again, I just shared with you that story of like how I was working through that to maintain my embodied state of future me. It allows you to really like work through the beliefs that you are still carrying, like the limited scarcity mindset. It really does give you the clues of what you are still carrying and how to address them so that you can move through them. It's never about avoiding them. Again, like, it's one thing to not allow a thought that comes up to spiral, but it's another thing when a thought comes up that keeps coming up over and over again, and you're kind of just like shoving it down and you're like, no, like, stop bothering me. But it's like, no, that's actually a sign that this is something that's persisting and continuously coming up for you. You need to address it because otherwise it's going to hold you back from what you're trying to achieve. Um, okay. So my last note is actually like imagining what it's like to receive. Okay. So one thing that I did before my event was I actually, again, this is going back to the whole visualizing deeply. This is the other route I wanted to take with it, was again feeling into what it would be like to receive everything. The other part of it that is important to do and allow yourself to really feel into is allowing the fears to come up with receiving all of the things that you desire. And I know that you may be like, what do you mean? Like, why would I feel fears? But there are fears that we carry that make us afraid of the actual success. There are people, you, that have fear of success for certain reasons. You have to be able to address them. So, one of the things that I did before my event was I allowed myself to really feel into what it would feel like to like have all these people at the event and to sell out my mentorship and my retreat and everything that I'm building. I kind of even like 10x'd it in my body of like, what would this feel like to really, like, this just exploded and everything that I say I want happened tomorrow. Or even like my videos on the internet, if they just exploded. Like, what if I just became like everyone knew me overnight? because ultimately that's probably what's going to happen eventually is I'm going to become more well known, right? As we grow our business, more people in our world, if you're in the online space, you're going to be exposed to more and more people. And I allowed myself to feel into the fears of that came up from being very well known, not only in my community and surrounding areas, but online. And there were lots of fears that came up. There was shame that came up from it, from my past self, and like fearing, I won't get too in depth with it, but really fearing um, what it would mean to be very well known when there's a past version of myself that I carried a lot of shame from and felt like just not proud of old versions of myself. And that really came up for me, and it was super heavy. And it wasn't about like, I didn't journal on it. What happened, and I was in this like deep meditative state, is I allowed that to actually, like, allowed that to feel even heavier. I was allowing the fear to get even stronger in my body. And it got so strong that I was like crying and like really imagining that fear just kind of like overcoming me, until a point where it got so intense that it kind of like just it calmed down. It got to its highest point and it calmed down, and I was able to start to like reason with, okay, if this does happen, if my worst fear comes true, what will happen to me? And I was able to like sensibly talk to myself about, this and this and this. Like, I was able to really like have a conversation with that little fearful child in me that's like freaking out about all of the success that could come with what I'm building right now, that probably was blocking me for a really long time. And I was able to release it by allowing the fear to come up and face it and feel it and cry it out and talk to myself and give myself compassion for the past version of myself that, again, it looks like I hadn't forgiven and I hadn't let go of, and I still felt guilty about. So it's not just about getting in the embodied state of, this is the version of myself that I want to step into, but it's also allowing the fears to come up and to feel them. So many people are afraid to face their fears. They're afraid what's going to come up, and I get it. I That's why I was stuck for so long, is because I didn't want to face my fears. I didn't want to face my past. I didn't want to face things that really scared me. But once you go through that and you do feel them and you release them, that's how you unlock the next level of you. You, like I said, you can't skip the levels of unlocking higher versions of you, higher conscious versions of you. There is a component to it where you have to do deep inner work, you have to do healing before you can really unlock the 10x version of you. And that's exactly what we do in my Back to You mentorship program, where we are doing the inner work, we're doing the healing, and I'm walking them through the process of, this is how you go through it and how you understand it and how you start to develop awareness, like 10x, 100x awareness in your beliefs, in your thoughts, in your programming, in how your body's feeling, and reprogramming your nervous system. Like, we go through all of that deep level inner work so that as they're unlocking these versions of themselves, they are equipped to handle their 10x version and know exactly what they need to do, because they understand what's happening in their body. Because when we're at a level of, you can have all the self-awareness in the world, but if you have not actually done the inner work of feeling all of the hard shit that you have not allowed yourself to feel, if you have not allowed yourself to do that, you will always remain in this level of survival mode. And I talk about it in other videos, but that looks like that shows up in like people pleasing, sabotage, overthinking, overwhelm, stressing, anxiety. Those are symptoms of a dysregulated nervous system that is stuck in survival mode. And if you are in survival mode, think of it as like this is like our most primal animal beings. Animal being survival mode is the furthest thing away from your divine highest conscious self. And if you can't get yourself out of that state, you will never be able to have the capacity to reach your fullest potential. You can do all of the manifestation, you can do all of the journaling, like it, but if you don't work with your body, work with your nervous system, work with your programming, your subconscious, you're only going to have so much capacity to handle the life that you say that you want. And yes, like there's a reason you're saying that you want them, because deep down your soul is trying to guide you and put you on the path you are meant to be on here. But yes, the soul's working, but the body and the mind, if they are not in tune with the soul, you it's like you only can go so far. And that's the work that we do in my world. We do the deep inner work because I want more women to be able to unlock these versions of themselves. They need to be equipped. They need to know what's going on, why they react the way they do, why they're triggered, why they feel like they have to people please and they can't ever set boundaries for themselves. They need to understand what's going on, and they have to be able to overcome them. If they don't, again, they're not going to have the capacity to step into the best and highest version of themselves. And that is what I feel like is my mission. My soul's mission is to unlock women. I want women to be able to unlock the highest version of themselves, because that is how this world is going to become a better place. That is how it's going to become more loving, more kind, more impactful in a positive way. So I hope that this was helpful. This was a really long video, but if you want me to go like more in depth with this, let me know in the comments or send me a message, because this is a whole life's practice and there are so many things that we could talk about and branch off of in this, but I really wanted to give you a lot of the foundational work that I have been doing and why I've been seeing results so quickly now because of this work. So I hope that this was helpful. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And oh, by the way, if you're not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and make sure to follow me on our Instagram pages. I'll link them below, like my Instagram and my TikTok. Make sure to follow. And if you want to stay connected in my world of events, virtual events, launches that we do with our clothing, and like new anything updates or whatever, I'll also leave a link where you can join our email list, and then that way you can stay up to date with everything. But anyways, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.